Umar Johnson says the black church is keeping black women single.
The black church caters to the black woman. And the reason the black church caters to the black woman is because the black woman is the provider. She has more income and education than the man. So they're looking at this financially. They also have a vested interest in her never getting married.
Whoa.
The pastor is the metaphorical husband of all the single women in the community. I'm not saying he's sleeping with them. I'm saying he's keeping them so distracted with Jesus that they never find a husband, and that's the way he wants it to stay. Because if she finds a husband, she won't have as much time to be donating to the church all the time.
Wow.
So the black church benefits from single motherhood. They don't want our sisters married because their pockets would go down.
Is this all church or just the black
But
church?
there's
in
always
particular?
exceptions.
Apparently, the black church is keeping black women single.
On purpose.
Yeah, focus. They tell them focus on Jesus. If you focus on Jesus, that's all you need to worry about. You need to worry about who your husband, all that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. You tell me what you think.
Okay. So there's different parts to that. He said sole reason is because the women are the providers. So I'm guessing he's saying because there are a lot of black single mothers, right? They are the providers.
Mm-hmm.
They typically, if it was rooted in them to go to church
Right.
from childhood, typically some women, they stick with it. They may not go all the time, but they go. So I'm guessing he's saying that they're paying some type of tithe or something. That's what he's talking about. They need their money, things like that. And then if they're not worried about a man and a husband to tend to,
Right.
that they're gonna be more focused on going to church. So here's my thing. I don't know. He said there's always exceptions. I'm gonna say that I have experienced the exception, right? I can't speak for those huge mega churches where they got some other agenda or whatever. Because I'm going to say if that's the truth right now, that's not godly.
Mm-hmm.
That's not of God to want the women to stay single for that reason. So we're going to say that first and foremost. Now, when he say that one reason is because a lot of women who are not even thinking about remarrying or getting married, things like that, because they're so focused on Jesus, 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 and God. I'm going to say this. I've seen some examples where it's a little truth. It can be some truth to everything, right? And here's what I mean by that. Some women who, really want to be, have Jesus the center of their life, want that firm foundation. They don't want nothing to shake it. It could be because of what they've experienced in the past, how they used to be.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I cannot go back to that. Their old relationship, things like that. They do fully submit and submerge themselves into their Christian walk, which we should.
Uh-huh.
But I will say that marriage is a part of ministry, right? So that can be a part of that Christian walk.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. If you only be at home, you go to work, and you go to church, including however many services you got. I'm talking about Sunday school, Sunday service, evening service. Come on now, y'all know.
Yeah.
Y'all know you've been growing up in the church. Or if you, and then you go back at home, right? You don't really do anything else. You work at a job where it's mostly all women, wherever you work. Are you exposing, and if you're that type of woman, probably you're not on apps. Let's just be real about it. Are you exposing yourself to men to possibly be seen, to be chased, to be pursued? The answer would be no. And so a lot of times we say, you want to find your husband in the church.
Yeah.
And here's what I would say. I grew up saying that. I believe it, right? If your church and your congregation, because the people we're the church, right? Everywhere, the people of God is the church. But if your husband, your potential husband, is there at that church, okay, it would be nice if y'all could connect there. It's good you're going to all those services.
Right.
Morning, evening, night, whatever. But if your husband happened not to be there, that doesn't mean that he's not a man of God. You can meet him somewhere else at a social event and stuff. But if you don't go out and you no, he's just going to have to come here and stuff, then I don't know if I agree with that. You need to be able to expose yourself where the men are. Good, respectable men are. I'm not saying go to the bar and look for your husband. I'm not saying do that. But I'm saying you got to show that you are here.
Yeah.
Let them be able to see you and notice you. So I would say there is some truth to, I'm not even going to put it on the pastor, but it's some truth to women not making sure that they are making themselves available to meet people. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. So there are bits of truth in this, like
Yeah.
100%. I would not deny. There's some bits of truth to this. So I'm going to first deal with what is, I think, accurate and true in this, and then I'm going to really tackle the things that are just like, wait, what? And so
Yeah.
this kind of goes to the phrase, you've probably heard it before, correlation does not equal causation.
Mhm.
Just because there's a correlation in something does not mean
That's the
that is
reason.
the reason for it or the cause of it.
Correct.
So it is very true that a lot of the black church, as we call it, is catered toward women.
Oh, that's a lot
It
of
is
women.
very true that
Yeah.
a lot of stuff is catered to the women. Why? Because women outnumber in a lot of these churches. Not all of them. There's a lot of black churches that have black men,
Mhm.
but in a lot of these churches, they outnumber the men.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes it's 70-30, sometimes it's a
Maybe
higher
more.
ratio of women. So
Mhm.
there is an aspect of that, but you know, obviously catering to women isn't the greatest means to grow the men of the church. So the women are going to suffer in that regard because it's catered to them. And so it's catered to the things that they, I guess, would be communicate with. And then he also said, you know, because they're putting their focus on Jesus. You know what? You know what I have to say to that? Amen.
We should be.
Amen. You need to focus on Jesus.
Why are we there?
Amen to that. But here's the
Yeah.
thing. There is, and where I want to point to the bits of truth is, if it's, you know, Jesus is my husband, that type of thing. And I used to be okay. You know, when girls will say that, I would be like, okay, you know, respect. But
Yeah,
I think
I said Jesus is my Valentine's to him. I'm guilty. Okay.
so, you know, I respect it to an extent, but
Mhm.
I do think that you got to be, I think there is a healthy understanding of having that relationship with Jesus, having a relationship with Jesus in that season of singleness, meaning that your focus is on getting closer to God and
Mhm.
building on that relationship, because that will help all other relationships. That's healthy. But if by Jesus as your husband, you're like, I don't need no man, or I could be independent, then like, okay, that's closer to feminism than it is Christianity, because there is a man out there that would be compatible with you, and there is a man out there that would complement the work that God is doing in your life. So we can't fall into that. So I'll give a little bit of credit now. The reason why I brought up the correlation does not equal causation is just because a lot of the black church, and I'm not even saying I agree with this, but a lot of it is catered to women, and the pastor's preaching them to get closer to Jesus. That does not mean that the intent of it is to keep them single, or the intent of it is to keep them single. I don't know. Now there's some wolves in sheep's clothing, and he pointed that out, and I think there's a lot of truth in the fact that, and we didn't play the whole clip, but there's a lot of truth in the fact that there's a lot of false teachers, a lot of people that are opportunists, that are trying to that care more about gaining money, that are in it for money more than anything. And they might put this image up and saying like, you know, oh, they're in it for Jesus and stuff like that, but they're always taking up offerings. He named in this, I think, Creflo Dollar, because they're in Atlanta. And I'm not gonna name names, but I mean, you can look up the information. You can see the history of people like him, and just, you know, how money hungry a lot of these pastors are, taking up offering after offering after offering and things like that. And you even mentioned one thing that I thought was funny, which is all of the different services, going to every single service that the church has. Churches don't have, here, I'll put it on a solo shot. Churches don't have multiple services for you to come to the morning service, the 11 o'clock service, the 2:30 service, 7 o'clock service. Churches don't have those multiple services for you to have to go to church from morning till nighttime. They have them for other people who have different schedules to have an opportunity to go to church.
I would say some on the smaller scale do have it for all people to go to all.
But that was, in a lot of churches, that's not the reason why they have that, though.
Right.
A lot of the churches do it because there are too many people that are in the church at that time. So they have another time so that more people, different people can come in. So that way, if you have one church service at one time, then it's going to be overcrowded. Whereas if you have it multiple times, then people will come. Some people will like the morning, want to go in early, and they go to the 9 a.m. service, and guess what? They can go home. They might go to Sunday school and then go home. They're done for the day, and it's 12 o'clock. Some people like football, so I don't know. Just throwing that out there. Then some people like to go in the evening service. It's all to space it out. It was a practical purpose for it, but a lot of people are addicted to church. They're addicted to church and the church culture and stuff like that. And they go to every single service they can. They go to every Bible study, every function, to the point where they don't even have no time to, they really don't have no time for a guy. So all I'm saying is, while there is some truth in what he's saying here, I think that the correlation does not mean that it is the cause of it because the church is catered to women. That is why there are so many single women in the Black church. Here's another thing to throw out there. A lot of these women have been in toxic relationships, have been divorced, have been before Christ, all of these different things. So many of them may not be in a place, they're probably in a place of healing. There's a lot of trauma and things like that. There's a lot of other potential things. And just because you see a correlation of something does not mean that it is the cause of it. So that's kind of a big thing I want to. Did you want to add anything else?
No, I just was saying, is he saying he talked to pastors or he heard them say, word of mouth, that, you know, we actually want these women to, like, I'm just saying, where does he get that from?
No, I guarantee you no pastor has told him that. Now, people who may have been in the church and left the church may have said these things. He may have heard Christians. Because here's the truth. You can attend a church. Think about if you attended Creflo Dollar's church and you left saying, oh man, they were just so money hungry. All they did was take up offerings and things like that, offering for everything. And they just were robbing the people and not doing nothing for the community. That's one church though. It's not all Black churches. Now, are there too many churches in our community that do this in poor neighborhoods, taking up offering after offering? Yes, and it's wrong. And I'll be the first to admit it. And I also think it's a responsibility on us to be cheerful givers in our own heart, like not be wise in it. We know that we shouldn't just be giving our money, throwing our money at any church just because. We should give as God put on our heart to give. But those are our thoughts on this. We love to know what you all think. So make sure you leave a comment below. And before you head out, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, hit that notification bell.